Steve,
Uh,
welcome to the W2 Prison Break Show, man. I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Thanks for having me, Brian. Been looking forward to connecting and just diving into, as you say, saving some lives.
That's right. We're going to do that. And the first thing I wanted to ask you was how long have you been in the entrepreneurial world? That's a hard word to say, but how long for you?
So, on the consulting side of the space, this all started around 2017.
Hmm.
But my first business that I owned, I was actually in high school and I was mowing lawns doing landscaping. I'll say my first adult business that I owned, where it wasn't, I think the IRS, it's a little bit too late for them to come after me for not reporting that $30 cash, but that started in 2008, so going on 16 years now.
Got it. You may know this, but I'm just going to ask for maybe it's been a long time, maybe a lesson or two or even three that really stands out to you that you've learned that you can give to the listeners right now.
Yeah, the biggest lesson that I learned throughout my career is I am the problem. Back in 2014, so about 10 years ago, I was going through this phase where I had four businesses. From the outside looking in, you would say that everything was going well and I was off to a good start and all the pieces in my entrepreneurial ownership, business ownership career. But at the end of the day, I just wasn't happy day to day. And my mentor at the time had asked me what the problem was. And I told him why I wasn't happy, et cetera, and all the reasons why that existed. And it was the economy, my employees, the clients, the marketing, the all the things. And I never mentioned myself. And he challenged me and in a not so gentle way told me that ultimately I was the problem. And it was a really striking conversation, and it really opened up my mind to think through. At the end of the day, I have the ability to go solve the problems that are in front of me. I actually just have to potentially learn about it and take some action against it. And since I've changed my outlook, and granted, there are times where there are extenuating circumstances. I'm not this guy who's like, you're in control of everything and your thoughts lead. Like, I believe that that stuff helps, but there are times that things outside of your control do impact what your day to day is.
Yeah.
But I've been able to weather those storms better now because I understand I'm still in control of certain things. And the other side of it is, I really think relationships are one of the biggest things that's helped me in my professional career. In the moment, I don't think that I ever get into a relationship of, oh, hey, I'm going to make friends with this person. It's going to pay dividends down the road. It's just more like I'm a people person. I want to know more people. And at some point in time, I want to be able to help somebody out. And I'm hoping they'll be able to help me out. And let's create a relationship. And usually those relationships have paid dividends, helped me get into the right rooms, created some more connections, or they've been able to help me and I've been able to help them directly. So relationships have been king in terms of, call it a currency, to transactionalize it a little bit in my
Yeah.
career.
Yeah, definitely a currency. Okay, good. So I am the problem, extreme ownership. And yes, some things are out of our control. We can't take accountability for everything. What did that conversation do for you? You had that with a mentor told you that, and like how long did it take you to accept that? And then what did that do for you there? You were also mentioned that you were running four businesses at the time. So was that maybe a problem?
Well, it was a problem, but it was also an opportunity because 10 years ago, version of me, was a really bad leader, a really bad communicator, a really bad operator. I just didn't do well at those things, and I didn't realize it. I thought everything was generally speaking good, and I didn't have to change. But I remember the following. So we had spoke every other week. We had a 1 hour call, and that 2 week later conversation. I don't remember the exact conversation, but I remember the feeling going into the conversation that I was going to battle his thought process and try to prove where sure I could contribute, but those things are still the problem because I can't overcome them.
Yeah.
And I showed up and I remember I started talking and nothing along those lines came out of my mouth, or at least everything I said was what I wanted to say, but all I heard me saying was I needed to be able to be better and take control of what I had to do. So that 2 weeks was kind of rough. I remember asking for feedback from my team.
Mhm.
Remember asking for some feedback from my friends, like, what do you think about me? This, that, everything. And there was a lot of gut checks and ego checks that happened throughout that time frame. But they really set me up for a lot of success, I'll be honest. And it changed from in my first 5 years, I grew to those four businesses that I had owned, which was great.
Hmm.
But in the next 4 years, I grew from four businesses to 17.
Wow.
And it was because I was able to be the person I needed to be. And I'll say the biggest change that really came out of it wasn't that I necessarily became better for myself and my businesses, but I realized as a leader, my job was to build up my team, to pour into my team and help them achieve whatever it was that they wanted to achieve. And it sounds super naive, but I didn't even know what they were like looking to get out of life or working with me at the time. It was just like, hey, you're here. My way of saying thank you is making sure you get your paycheck, do your darn job. And that was the way that I led.
Mm.
And I had to start learning that no, that's people aren't going to follow you if you treat them that way. And I had to make a lot of changes to make it work. And, as I said, I was able to grow from something that was doing well to now 4x'd my entire portfolio in a shorter amount of time than it had taken me to get to the original four locations. So it wasn't a bad ROI on that looking inwards, I'll say.
Yeah, no, I mean, awesome. 4 to 17 businesses. And it was really, sounds like a couple of calls that really got the ball rolling on that. All right. So I'm thinking in my head, and so probably is the audience too, like, how in the heck does this guy manage 17 businesses? We were talking a little bit offline about, and you mentioned the word freedom. You've got a freedom framework. And I'm assuming that this is exactly how you're able to run these 17 businesses or go from 4 to 17. And if you could elaborate on that, I think we're all on the edge of our seats here.
Yeah, so first I'll admit this one. At the time, the freedom framework as it is today did not exist. The freedom framework was really built on as I started to move into consulting and understanding the success that I had, what were the things that I did in those moments that really changed my trajectory, either up or down, learn from both sides, and how do I put that into a repeatable process that other entrepreneurs, business leaders can use to grow whatever it is that they're focusing on and wanting to grow. So that was a little bit of a hindsight. How do I package this thing to teach it to other people?
Mhm.
That said, the freedom framework, I'll give you all 7 steps, but overarching, it breaks down in a simplistic, logic driven format what you need to focus on, what you need to learn about what you need to focus on, and what actions you need to take on what it is you need to focus on. So, what am I doing? Learn about it, take the action, rinse and repeat, and get that piece done.
Mhm.
And a lot of times as business owners, we get stuck in the I don't know what to do, so I do nothing, or I'm so committed that this is the only thing I should be doing. Meanwhile, it's the wrong thing.
Mhm.
And you're making those based upon experience and emotions. And I'm not going to say you're always wrong, but I'm willing to guarantee you're not always right. And then there's that other subset of people that, man, I'm just going to keep learning because I love learning. And it's a 3 year ordeal of this marketing, sales, fulfillment, whatever the thing is, class on this thing. And cool, you learn a lot, but you took no action. And then there's the people that are always recklessly taking action without trying to truly understand all the facets of the problem, the solutions, the outcomes that can be created. So, how do we break that down and simplify it for people? Which ultimately, like I'll just say this is a communication tool. That's truly what it is, and it creates massive alignment amongst the entire team. Step number one, the F is filter. How do we know what we need to be working on? And there's a formula that I use to break this down in every business, and that formula is the profit per acquisition formula. Your lifetime value of a consumer minus the cost to acquire them, minus your cost to fulfill and the promise to them. Those three KPIs are the most important KPIs in your business when we're looking at it from a profit per acquisition formula. So if you're taking notes and you're writing on your piece of paper, center top of that paper the word profit, and then right below it, lifetime value minus acquisition minus fulfillment costs, and those three numbers. The way we use this is we identify, or I sit down with somebody, go, of these three numbers, which one is the most broken, has the most opportunity, is the easiest to impact the most, whatever lens we want to use. And we're looking at three pieces of data, and you can give me a good, honest answer that is rooted in logic based upon the numbers in front of us of which one we need to focus on. Great, we pick it. Let's say you say my acquisition costs are the most broken. Amazing. Ask a really key question. What numbers go into the number that I'm currently looking at? And simple and easy, how much I spent and how many new clients, consumers that I got for that spend. Great. Awesome. Which one of those two is the most broken? Identify it. What numbers go into this number that I'm looking at? And you repeat the process until the answer to what numbers go into this number is I don't know or there aren't any. And now you have found the singular number that you need to try to actually fix or change or whatever in your business that's going to produce the best outcome using logic and using a proven diagnostic tool. So that's the F. The R is relate. Once we figure out what we need to do, you need to relate it to somebody to get it done. Whether it's yourself, and it seems odd, but you need to literally have the conversation. All right, Steve, I'm going to get this thing done in 21 days, and here's how it's going to happen type mentality, because we'll identify it and then take no action, or other people don't necessarily take action. The first E, step three, is educate. Now we know what we're doing, who's doing it. We're going to educate ourselves on the problem, on the potential ways we can solve the problem, and on the potential outcomes that we can create by solving the problem. Some more expensive, some are faster, some are slower, some are leaner, require people, require systems. Learn all the ways so you can make the best guess on which one or which way you'd like to solve it. Step four, the next E, empower. Empower your team to go solve the problem or empower yourself potentially to fail or mess up, which business owners don't do very well.
Mm.
Step five, the D, is define the success criteria. As you're going to focus time, effort, energy on this thing, what does success actually look like? In other words, set the stage for when you finish this thing to ask yourself the question, did I achieve the goal or not? Did I create
Mm.
the outcome or not? And it's just really a tripwire to make sure we ask those relevant questions to ourselves. Step six, the O, optimize, is using resources that I currently have available to me. Can I increase the outcome that I've already created? In other words, without spending any more money or time hiring new people, new softwares, new anythings, can I produce more on this thing? Step seven, the M, maximize. If I were to add an additional resource, spend more money, spend more time, etc., will I be able to increase the output by 4x whatever this costs me? So if you're going to hire somebody for $50,000, my question for you would be, if you're going to pay them 50, will they be able to pump out 200,000 for it to truly make sense to add this in here? Well, Steve, that's 25%. That seems like it's pretty cheap. Yes and no. I'm willing to go down to 33% and a 3x in the right circumstance, but let's say 4x. But we also need to think opportunity cost. Just you spending the time to train, hire all those pieces. You need that one back. Whatever you're paying them, you got to get that back. And then there's ongoing, usually maintenance fees and things that are associated to bringing on new software people, spending whatever it is. And then you'd like to leave little bit of profit on the back end for you. So those are kind of the quick and dirty of each step or the
Yeah.
overarching freedom framework, which again gets us back to what do I do? Educate myself and go take the action on the thing that I have to. And as I started to install these systems, it was no longer 60 people asking me questions or what we should do, but rather the leader of each business now having the tools they needed to make the most objective decision and then lean into their experience, their emotions, or, hey, Steve, here's what we need to work on and be why, what's your experience? And we have a solution conversation versus a figuring out the problem conversation. And everybody came empowered to run that business unit and go grow it, and it was no longer relying on me as being a system, but rather I created the system of humans and people that were capable of going and doing me, but at a grander scale because they were in that business day to day.
Yeah. Awesome. You did that pretty efficiently with how much there is there. So thanks for that. I'm going to ask you this question. When you present that to a business owner for the first time, like what are some of the normal maybe resistance questions that come up or just like what's the initial reaction? Because I'm sure, that was a lot. And I'm sure people listening are like, okay, well, what do I do first? Or what are the questions that you get asked?
Yeah, so when I'm sitting down with a business owner and having more in-depth conversation with them, we actually start at kind of, I'll call it spot one, which is let's define your freedom.
Hmm.
And that's why it's the freedom framework, because this is the thing that's going to unlock that. And we talk about things that not only related to business income per se, that's an obvious one, but what does time look like? Taking care of yourself look like? Vacations look like? When do you want to be at a point in time where you don't have to work to generate money and you get to work because you love what you do and you generate money? What does legacy for family look like? What does donations or solving world problems look like to you? And some people have smaller goals, some people have bigger goals. A lot of people have no idea. But once we go through the exercise of setting some loose idea around, hey, I want to achieve this list of things. Okay, great. The best way to quantify it is going to be through income and setting that goal.
Yep.
So let's just set a random number of, hey, I need $10 million to be able to do all the things I want to do in life. Fantastic. How much money are you making right now? $100,000. Okay, great. In how many years would you like to hit your 10 million? In 10 years. All right. Well, if I take your 10 million and divide it by 10, simple math, and I'm not calculating expenses, and don't jump on that one, but that tells me you need to generate an income of $1 million a year. You're missing that by 90% right now. So, do you think we need to make a change? And the answer is yeah, of course. If I'm at 100 and I need to get to 1 million, and that's the only way I'm going to achieve what I want by when I want, then sure, I have to make a change. Cool. Here is the blueprint to do that as a business owner. And usually that first question really comes down to, amazing, explain that to me so I truly understand each step. I put together for my coaching clients a 2-page doc, simple front and back, where we break these things down and how we go about it, because it really is a worksheet on what to do. And then ask yourself the right questions as you're going through it. And that's really the magic here, where let's go focus and let's get those things done.
Yeah. Well explained. Personal vision. I'm really big on that. I work with a lot of people that just don't have it. You said, hey, they don't even know. How important is that to know that? And how many people in your experience don't know, don't do it?
I've only met truly people who have it thought out, a handful of people that understand their number, where they want to get to, and there's literal emotional connection and tie behind why that's the thing. And it's not just some random number for the sake of having a number. So greater than 99% of people don't have this mapped out.
Yeah.
We live in a world where we're taught all of these things from birth through our parents that have beliefs, through the education system, the news, all the pieces, where we become adapted to, how do I maximize my 401k, my IRA, my returns on my investments, the stock market, and all these pieces. My mortgage, my this, my that, none of which are going to truly unlock your ability to go out and achieve what you want. I'm not saying that they're not important, they're not a piece of what you do,
Mhm.
but that's not the only way to get there, and it shouldn't be the only piece. But we go through this exercise and we have these preconceived notions where it's just this whole world that this is the way it is. And you need to find people that have found a different way and can teach you some of those skills to go drive in a different direction and unlock it for you. So a lot of people don't have any idea because they've never even been taught to maybe think differently, not because they haven't been there, or they don't want it. We've not been taught those skills. In terms of level of importance, you need to have something you're working towards. I give the example. I live in New Jersey.
Hmm.
If you're in New York and I say, hey, I need you to never come to New Jersey, you can go New York to Pennsylvania to Virginia to back to Pennsylvania, go up to Maine, head down to Georgia, and you can go all these states and never come to New Jersey, and you'll be accomplishing the goal, so to speak. But if I said never come to Jersey, but I actually meant I want you to get to California, there's an entirely different plan there.
Yeah.
Both of those plans, all up and down, skipping New Jersey, takes the exact same amount of effort. You're driving for 8 hours a day, you're walking for 8 hours a day, you're whatever, traveling 8 hours a day. Same effort as 8 hours a day going to California. So if California is the goal and you want to never go to New Jersey because it's far away from the goal, amazing. Head towards the goal. And if we don't have a goal, it's really hard to understand where we're working towards. And we're going to exert energy running away from something more than we're going to exert energy going towards something.
Yeah. We don't know how do you know what to do if you don't know where you're going? I think it's the easiest way I think I can explain that to people. You have to
Yep.
know where you're going first. And a lot of the times, maybe if you define your personal vision, because I never had one when I was working my WT for 25 years, I just knew I wanted to make more money, right? And not be in my job. That was my personal vision. But once I realized what my vision was, I was like, you know what? I don't have to make as much money as I think I do, right? I don't need $10 million. It's a different number. So that can be a very eye-opening and clarifying experience for a lot of people when they say, oh, hey, this lifestyle that I put on paper only costs this much. I don't need to put the stress of trying to earn 50 times that, right? Just because it's an arbitrary round number. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
No, and that's the thing. It's one of those things where we don't know what those numbers look like, so we're always chasing the idea of more
Mhm.
because we feel like what we currently have is not enough. And chances are that's accurate, but do you know how much more? Do you know how far away from more you are? Do you know like what it looks like? And the answer is no. More is unquantifiable. But if you need to get to a certain number and you're currently at a certain number, that changes the game, and you can now reverse engineer that math to start to understand truly what it looks like for you to get to where you want to go. Doesn't make it easier, just it makes it quantifiable so you know what your outcomes need to be.
Is there anything out there that you're seeing right now with people that you're working with that would be relevant to this conversation in terms of, maybe some mistakes that are being made? I always like to bring current events to the show. So what are you seeing out there that you'd like to share with people to avoid?
Oh, we're only supposed to go for like 30-ish minutes, not 3 hours, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um,
Open-ended question there. Sorry.
no, I actually really appreciate the question. And to bring it down to one of the biggest things that I find so common out there today is people looking for the next best thing, that hack, that cheat, that silver bullet. And everybody out there today has some level of marketing education and they're out there selling you on the next best thing. The reality is you probably don't need five different mentors. And I'm a big believer in having that mentor, that person in your corner, that person who looks at life a little bit differently and can ask questions for you and make you think outside of your box. So don't take this as a you shouldn't have anybody,
Mhm.
but I also don't think you should be looking and having five different people. There's a lot of people that can help you grow your thing that you probably already know what you have to do. You're just not doing it for some various reason. Either you need affirmation or confirmation that, yeah, that's the thing, go do it. Or you go down this road of, what if I'm wrong? What if this? And talk through that. And that's the big thing out there is you probably know the answer. Stop trying to find somebody else who quote unquote is gonna give you the cheat codes to go do it. And it just people switch gurus every 3, 4, 5 months, and sometimes you might find a bad mentor. Don't get me wrong, and don't stay with that person for the sake of it. But if they're helping you and they're producing quantifiable results and you're getting what you want out of them, or at least what you're sharing with them, then why would you change things until that person is no longer serving you in the capacity you need them to? So I would just say today it seems very rampant that a lot of people are trying to get all of this information, all of this knowledge, all of these different people in their corner, and they're spending a lot of money to basically be told, go do what you already know you have to do.
Yeah. I don't think I could possibly agree with that more. Most people know what to do. They just need maybe that 10% shove to get them off the wrong road and into the right lane. And hey, here's the things that you need to do. And then they just need that support like, hey, if I run off the road or if I make this error, I can bounce some ideas off of you. They're doing like 80% of the legwork. And then you're there for the back 10%, to kind of help them see it through. But I agree 100%. Most people know what to do. So maybe some criteria that you would have on how to select that person, because I'm big too on not listening to too many people because we get clouded. So any tips there?
You need to uniquely understand what it is that you're looking for and specifically what you're looking for this person to help create.
Mm.
If they can come in and intelligently talk about it, show you that they've been able to produce a similar or the same result historically, and they're somebody who lives kind of what they lead to an extent, then you have a recipe for success. But if you go open-handed, hey, I just want somebody to help me, well, your marketing guru, your sales guru, your customer fulfillment, customer service success guru, like all of these people are going to come knocking at your door and tell you they're going to solve your problem.
Mhm.
But the reality is you might have said in your brain, I need help, but you might have actually meant I need to stop working 80 hours a week and work 50 so I can go enjoy my weekends. Who can buy me some of my time back? If you understand that, quantify it if you can. Again, you want to go from 80 down to 50, so save 30 hours a week. Go find somebody who's capable of helping you with that and starts to produce some of the results that you want.
Yeah, awesome. I like that one. Steve, one question I had for you, and we talked about this a little bit before we hit the record button, is, you're big on communication. You alluded to it in the beginning about networking and relationship building, something that a lot of people either avoid because they're scared to death of it, right? Interacting with people. But you said it, you refer to it as a currency, right? I just think a lot of people, especially after COVID, we're all trapped inside for so long. We kind of lost that
Yep.
skill to network and interact. Maybe just take that away from me and run with it in terms of, how do we do this? Because again, a lot of people are just so fearful of communicating with other people, getting that conversation started. I just think it's super important, as you mentioned, a currency.
Yeah, it's awkward talking to somebody that you have no idea who they are, what they like, what you have in common, how to strike up a conversation or anything else in between is awkward.
Mm.
Like point blank, straight up, it's hard.
Yep.
But you're not going to die. Don't talk to, certain strangers in certain cities on the corners and everything. Like maybe you will die, but be
Yeah.
smart, right?
Yeah.
And all joking aside though, you're in situations where you're in rooms and you're having conversations with people. You don't know who is who, what they've done, what experience they have, what connections they have, or what knowledge they can share. And striking up a conversation isn't going to kill you. The worst thing that really happens is you spend 5 to 10 minutes of being awkward, feeling awkward, and not really finding a groove and not finding that, hey, this makes sense to continue the conversation. You just move on. Hey, Brian, it was a great chatting with you. If there's any way I can help you, let me know. I'm going to continue on my networking journey because that's why we both came here. No one's going to be upset. And if you feel awkward, they feel awkward as well. So just go have more conversations. And I'm not saying just walk down your street and talk to your neighbors.
Yeah.
That you probably should, but
Mhm.
if you're trying to grow your business, go put yourself in environments where there's people around that have been there, done that, or can offer some advice and just meet people. It is going to pay dividends so much. You're going to get the most return on that time spent that you couldn't even imagine.
Yeah.
And that's a great way to go out and spend some of your time in building your business and your networking.
I couldn't agree more. I think it's also, there's a lot of fear, especially if, you're talking to someone who might be above you, have some more success perceived. And, one of the things that I hear a lot from, a lot of the people that I work with on a one-to-one basis is like, hey, how's that person doing that? They're no smarter than me. And what that basically says is like, hey, we're all pretty much the same, right? We all have the same fears and challenges and hopes and dreams. And it's just certain people are doing things that you're not. And that's why they where they are. And they're doing this type of stuff that you said, where they see the value in their network, and they see the value in their time management, and they get mentors. And I don't know if I'm leaving anything on the table here, but that all comes with reps. I mean, you were at the point, I'm sure, where you weren't as skilled as you are right now with your businesses and communication. Like, everyone starts at zero. We all think that these people just roll out of bed and they got 17 businesses in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's always constantly evolving. And the person I was a year ago is very different than who I am today. And I can't even imagine all the things I could quantify from 10 years ago or 15 years ago, 20 years ago, even in terms of business and leadership and whatnot, managing my money. All those things change all the time. but they usually change because of learning and access to people that teach me things. So
Yeah.
going around, learning, finding people, we all have the internet. If you're listening to this, you have the internet, you have Google, you probably have AI. You can go and learn so much so quickly. Go find the one thing that's going to move you forward and take action on it, and then find a way to generate enough income to go be in rooms with people that can teach you things. And as long as you're willing to know that the only thing that matters is you need to learn more, but still take action on stuff. You need to level up so you can take better action on stuff. That is the thing that's going to help you grow the most. And I think day one, you need to go out there and you're going to pay with your time to grow this business and get this thing going. And that's nature of the beast. But when you persevere through that, you can start to change over that time for money aspect where you can lead to generate money and income, and you can meet people to generate money and income. I actually literally my Facebook post today is a lot can change in 365 days. And I kind of wrote through that. It's funny we're going down this, but
Mhm.
it's there's so many things that can change in 1 year. It's so much time, but in hindsight, we look back and we go, "Oh, that's not a lot of time at all." So just go out there, figure it out, and take those actions.
Totally. I love that. So much can happen in a year and it happens at the snap of a finger. I mean, if anybody, any of you listening, you got kids, you watch how fast they grow up. Like, how did he get that old? How did they get that old? So spot on there. Steve, how do we go? Where do we go to learn more about you, your freedom framework? What's the best place to look into that?
Yeah, come find me on Instagram or Facebook. Search my name, Steven, with a PH, Kopshaw with a K. And if you want information and learn and just kind of get some of the things that I like to talk about, Instagram is your better place. If you want to come have a little bit of fun with maybe some pot stirring, if you will, then Facebook's probably going to be more the place to go find me.
Nice. Well, they got options. We'll leave all those in the show notes here. Steve, this has been great. Before we wrap up, is there anything I always like to leave the listeners with, something that you're really well connected with, right? Maybe it was a conversation or a quote that you love or a book that you love. Like what's something that you feel you need to share with the audience today to help them, get a quick win?
Yeah, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together is one of my favorite sayings. I can't say I started my career under the idea that I wanted to go far, but as I've shared, I've transitioned to that. I'd rather be surrounded by great people that can do great work that I want to have great relationships with, and we can go build something bigger and better that I by myself ever could. I'm not saying just relentlessly take on business partners or things like that because that's a very dangerous kind of rope to toe. But you can have strong partnerships and people who are objectively just rooting to see you win, that you also are just rooting to see them win. So I would say if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together is the thing that I will leave everybody with today.
I love it. I wrote that down. I've heard that before. Awesome stuff. Steve, you're the man. I appreciate you taking your time out today and educating the audience. Everyone go check him out on whether you want the Steven version or the controversial version on Facebook, check that out. All right, everyone, make it a great day. Steve, thanks again.
Thank you.